We have been talking about real estate all the time. It seems like every conversation comes up. There's another real estate discussion. Some people are like, the future looks bright. Others are like, no, it's going to stay the same. They're actually the ones who are living in a cave, I think. But we are seeing sort of firsthand some of the big changes and big swings that are happening. And so I thought I would pass it over to you, and you could maybe give us a few of your predictions for real estate in 2021 and beyond.
All right, this is like a David Letterman sort of top 10 list. How do you want to do this? Do you want me to do them, and then you'll offer your color commentary?
I mean, I think that's what everyone wants to hear.
I'm sure you won't hesitate to weigh in. All right, here are the 5 predictions, looking into our crystal ball here, guaranteed to happen for real estate in a post-COVID world. Okay, so number 1, the rise of the rural.
Woo woo!
So rise of the rural means that people who work in a city or have been working in a city have been not commuting through COVID, and they're not going to want to go back to commuting, which means they now have the opportunity to move from suburbia out to rural burbia. Is that a word?
Rural, or the city out to rural.
Or the city out to rural. And we've actually had a lot of friends in our lives that are moving out of
we did it.
San Francisco. It's actually exactly what we did. So we haven't been commuting to San Francisco, but we can so easily get to San Francisco. We do. But I think especially for people who then will be going into cities, maybe once a week or twice a week. That's sort of what we're hearing commonly in the hybrid work world. In Robert's world, we'll see how he reacts to it, but people moving up to Park City and living up there instead of being in Salt Lake. People in New York moving up to the Hudson Valley instead of being in the city. So this is the rise of the rural.
And it is interesting because it's like, all of a sudden, if you put your head around it, you're like, I'm going to the city for my job once, maybe twice a week. I can add 30 minutes to my commute. And when you go towards rural, you were saying this the other day, most big cities have a pretty great rural environment about an hour and a half away from the city.
Yeah.
And so when you think about that, you're like, okay, I can add 30 minutes to my commute if I only do it once a week.
Right.
It's good to drive time with Anne opportunity. But when you think about it, like I remember back in the day, it would be an hour and a half to eat both ways if you were going down to Google.
People aren't going to do that anymore.
And that's 3 hours out of your day. Now imagine you're like, well, why would I do that on the corridor? I'd be happy to spend 2 hours once a week or 2.5 hours once a week each way, and then have an amazing life and lifestyle outside of that. So you're right. Rise of the rural, which is great for rural communities, right? Because those have been some of the communities that we've seen get hollowed out. And so I think it's going to be very exciting, that idea of rise of the rural. All right, go ahead.
All right, number 2, global digital nomads. So we
not
were
just a trend. People on Instagram.
We were in Todos Santos for a month. Van life is real. So many Sprinter vans down there. But one of the things that we hear about when people talk about everybody in San Francisco is moving to Miami, or these types of trends, the competition for talent is not just a domestic competition. People are moving across the world, Mexico, Thailand, you name it. So the digital nomad network is truly a global network. So that's number 2.
And they are real. I thought it was funny when we were doing you do your real estate tour when you're on trips, and you heard like, oh, well, the real rise of the digital nomad. I was like, oh, that's like not just a thing people talk about. It's an actual segment of the population.
All right.
Cities are going to compete on culture and quality of life for talent, not companies. Huh. Tap, tap, New Orleans. Are you going to be on the top 10 list for this one?
This is interesting because it's the whole, elephant hunting, whale hunting, recruiting company headquarters. That game is over. It's about recruiting talent.
So
and
1995.
You to compete for talent, it's about having a great culture, a great quality of life. And in this vein, I think the death of New York City and San Francisco and other great cities has been greatly exaggerated. People have been gone, but they're coming back. We were in San Francisco last week, and it was vibrant. It was exciting.
My gosh, amazing.
Because these are cultural hubs. These are awesome cities to live in. So again, not everybody has moved to Miami. Miami's pretty great too. So we're sort of picking on Miami here.
It's literally rocking.
Yeah.
And in fact, we're seeing there's huge amounts of for rent signs. That's a reality. But we're also seeing people start to want to come back. I mean, why wouldn't you want to live in these vibrant centers when you're young? And I think we're seeing the return of young folks to the city who are critical to making it vibrant and lively. Those of us who have children just stay home.
And on the flip side, cities that have always competed on, maybe they're a center of commerce, but not necessarily a center of culture. They're gonna struggle because the talent doesn't have to be there anymore. They're gonna
just picking on Hartford, Connecticut, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of cities that we've been to that are not that exciting, but they've had businesses and companies there.
Okay, 25% contraction in commercial real estate.
I thought you were going to let me go through this.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, everybody we talk to, literally everybody, except for Google, is reducing the size of their footprint and their office space. This is going to be a trend. Companies are going to go hybrid. They're going to save money on their leases. They're going to exit leases. Most companies won't go fully remote, but I predict a 25% contraction in commercial real estate. That's a big contraction. That's a bloodbath in commercial real estate. There's going to be huge pricing pressure on rents, and this is going to lead to. You want me to? You're going to jump in, or you want me to do this?
Yeah, I can't wait to hear.
Flex space is going to become the norm in commercial real estate. So people want to consume with a product that we've been doing for years. Obviously, co-working space and flex space. Companies are, we're already seeing it. We talked about UNICEF a couple weeks ago. Companies are, starting to adopt flex workspace. What does this mean for us? Is this good for us or not?
No, it is not good for operators, which is okay. I mean, operators just need to figure it out. Operators have, consistently in industries, you have middlemen create new product sets, and then eventually the more traditionals take those over. So we're going to see in this cycle probably a rationalization of flex space providers, and more landlords are just going to figure out how to actually do it, which means there's going to be a lot more flexible options, which is great for the consumer. And it also means sort of the death now to the middleman in the industry. I mean, that's just the way it's going to go. We're seeing it firsthand. We're hearing out of Nashville that the WeWork, which was like the fancy space down the street, they are offices for $500. You can't actually pay your rent if you're giving your offices away for $500. And they're able to do that because they've restructured their leases with the landlord probably, and they're supporting the landlord, and the landlord's fine, right? And so the building owner's fine. It's fine. It's actually a good thing for the consumer. We're going to see that happen, that there's going to be more flexibility in it. Frankly, the idea that the only option was to sign a 10-year lease and put your house on the line if you're a consumer of commercial real estate is total BS, and that's going away. And so it's time. It's time for the landlord to start to flex their space and realize, what it takes to actually care about your customer every day, and not just, the day you sign that 10-year lease.
Yep. All right. Well,
happening.
those are our top 5
Those are our top 5.
predictions for real estate.
Talk about tune in for Real Estate Insights from Chris and Ann.
Revisit it.
Ariel, our producer's going to be like, never do that again.
We'll revisit that a year from now and
see how we
see
did.
what comes to fruition.
All right. We've done our crystal ball.